So thank you, everybody, for being here. My hope is that, the topic that I chose, which was eliminating the unnecessary and learning to avoid at all costs, that this is going to be meaningful to you. But before I jump in on that, was there anybody uh, who was on the previous Zoom meeting that I had or has listened to it that was about planning? I don't know if anybody was on that or not. Catherine, I know you were on there. I think Jean was on there. Um, so anyway, the reason why I bring that up is, yeah, Jean was on there. But Jean, man, I'm not gonna be able to see you if you keep typing. You're gonna have to use words, or we're just gonna ignore you. Or Catherine can read what you say. But yeah, there were a few people on there, and the reason why I bring that up is because that um, Zoom call was about. It was titled "Why Your Plan Is More Important Than Your Action," and I said that because so many people jump in and make a plan or don't make a plan, but they just get active, or they make a plan and the plan isn't executed on, but they don't take that critical step. This is kind of that back end. This is the action part of the action plan. So I didn't say that your plan is important, your action is not important. I just said the plan is more important. So with that, um, so I asked a few questions, and some of those were: do you ever feel like your time doesn't belong to you, or that you're not accomplishing what you feel like you're capable of doing? So, uh, does anybody feel that way? Anybody ever feel like that your time doesn't belong to you, or that you're not accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish?
Yes.
Yes.
Other people?
Yes.
Cool. So, I don't know that we ever fully get away from that, but the kind of the goal is to get better at it, right? So, just kind of just kind of a quick, couple of things to talk about as I build up to this, you know, but I kind of talked about why I'm doing this, but the real thing is why do I do these um, why do I do these Zoom calls? Why do I take the time to do them? And the reason why is because over the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned some things that are really kind of imperative that people do. It was imperative that I did them in order to be successful, and that was how to dial in on a plan, how to create a plan. I mean, the plan that I use, I created, I developed that. There's a part of it that I didn't develop, but for the most part, I developed it all. Um, it's the way to eliminate these unnecessaries and to execute, and so that's why I started doing that, and kind of that's what makes what I would consider as my expertise in this is that when we were going through all that stuff at my company, and I think everybody knows the story, when we were going through it, I mean, there were times when, I mean, we were so busy trying to accomplish this debt reduction that we spent way too much time focusing on the unnecessary. Maybe two people would focus on the same thing as we would kind of go over it and try to solve it, but we would do it individually. So what we learned after a while is that we really need to have a heightened level of focus in order to accomplish things. And so that kind of gets, to kind of to where it's going. Um, but sorry, I'm kind of going over my notes. So really what this is about helping you kind of get the most out of your day. So, and why this all matters is because, you know, by doing this, by having a greater control of being able to execute and being able to eliminate those things that are unnecessary, by doing that, you're going to pack more in life. You're going to pack more in life. And I don't mean you're going to pack more into life. You're going to pack more into life. You're going to have a much more vibrant, uh, excited life. You're going to be able to get a lot more done. You're going to be able to, you're going to have more substance, more opportunities, you know, and you're going to gain greater clarity. That's one of the things that I found in the process of doing all this is that the more I did these things, the more I started to get clarity. Because what happens is if you can execute at a high level, you start to get ahead of things. You're not tracking behind things. And so if you think about it, one of the other questions that and I asked a bunch of questions, and with the hope of them that they're gonna get you started, right? Because what happens is every day there's all these things that flood into your life, and if they don't, man, I'd be shocked. But those things, emails, um, phone calls, people dropping by, you know, mom and dad saying, "Hey, could you do this? Could you run to the store?" Somebody doing stuff. And I'm not saying don't ignore everybody. I'm saying later on I'll talk about how to eliminate that. But really it's about how do you control your time? Because what happens is if you do a really good plan, if you set up a plan and you're like, this is my block, this is what I'm going to do today. And what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to think to yourself, what does my perfect day look like? And I'll ask myself this every day. I'm like, okay, this is what I've got my plan. I've got everything done. I've done the plan the night before. What does my perfect day look like? And the reason why I ask that question is because if I can get clarity on what that perfect day looks like, I can build that day. And I can build that with a high accuracy, like I can close out a day and be, close to 90% accurate as to what I wanted to accomplish versus what I accomplished. And so that's why you ask that question. What does my perfect day look like? Because if you do that, you're going to say things like, well, I'm not going to allow all these interruptions. And one of the things I do, and I talked about this in the previous one, is I set up 30-minute block times, maybe three times a day, where I'm just like and I kind of call it like time to clean out my junk drawer. It's like everywhere where I'm putting like, okay, I got emails I got to respond to, I got phone calls I got to make, I need to go. I don't know, I need to do all these like trivial things or small things. And so I'll set up a 30-minute block throughout the day. And that's part of my, that elimination. You can't eliminate all unnecessary, but if you block it and you're saying, hey, anything that comes up, it happens here, then, then you're able to control your day better. Because what happens otherwise is you start doing things, you start going, and I'll ask this, has any, and I'm this, maybe it's a rhetorical question, maybe the answer is yeah, everybody's done it, but have you been busy all day, just super busy, and then you look back at the end of the day and you're like, man, I don't think I accomplished anything. And and you're like, wow, I feel I was busy, but I didn't get done. I don't feel like I accomplished anything. And that's why if you see your plan, if you see your perfect day from the beginning, you can build to that perfect day. Otherwise, what happens is at the end of the day, you're just left with, man, I don't know what happened. And so, that's one of the reasons why I do that, is that I want to know what that's looking like. And I want to be able to say, what's going to fulfill me, right? Because that's a critical part of having a good day. It's like, what's going to fulfill me? And so I want to look and I want to say, for me, just for anybody who doesn't really know, I run a cybersecurity services firm. Which is the one that, if anybody's ever heard or heard me talk about or read the book, that's the turnaround. Um, I sit on the board of 3 different companies. I'm starting my own business. I'm starting another business. So all of these things are like, for me, it's like, what is going to fulfill me? And that's just my business life, right? I mean, I'm not talking about like, personal life. Like next week Catherine and I are heading down to California, into the heart of the beast of COVID-19 here in the U.S. Okay, so I think it's Florida, but California's trying to give them a run for the money. But anyway, you got to be able to manage those things. You got to be able to do it. And what happens? This is what I mean by you're going to gain clarity, and you're going to be able to build a vision on that, or you're going to be able to build clarity on your vision, because that's what you want to do. If you think about planning and then executing and eliminating the negative and simplifying, I mean, not eliminating the negative, eliminating the unnecessary. You got to eliminate the negative too, man. That's important. Get rid of the negative. But that's not what I'm talking about. But eliminate the unnecessary. If you go about doing all of those things, it's like a muscle. You're just going to get better at it all the time. And that's kind of the goal of this, is to just get better. And it's funny because, and this is a little bit of a pride thing. I'll admit that, but I don't think I know, and I want to meet the person that plans and executes on a plan better than I do, because I want to be that person's friend. I know that sounds arrogant, but this is probably one of my strongest points and why I've been so successful. And honestly, why I was able to turn around a company when I wasn't so successful. So all of it plays into this. And this becomes critical to to your success, or to our success. So, we talk about, minimizing things, or what you can do to minimize, so think about this. I got a little frog in my throat, so excuse me. What are the most critical things that you want to get done, and not just done in the day, but what are your short and long-term opportunities? And anybody who kind of knows, who has read the book, knows that I like to call things opportunities. I don't like to call them goals or tasks or critical tasks or anything like that. I like to call them opportunities, because for me, if I think of it as an opportunity, I get more excited, I get more engaged, I get more energized by thinking of things as opportunities. So if you look and you think, what are the most critical things, and do this when you're thinking about do it when you're planning, right? But then after you've planned, you want to be able to look and think about what are the most important things that I need to get done today, and what are those things that are going to move me forward, and so those are the things that are really going to kind of get your juices flowing and get you propelled to having, to being able to execute and eliminate and minimize. So I'm going to take a breath. Anybody have any questions? If you don't, I'm just going to take a breath. We'll just enjoy a little quiet time, and then I'll start back up. All right. No questions yet. Let's get back at it. So here's something that people have a hard time with all the time. And that's telling people no. I can't do that. No, I don't have time for that today. No, that's not my schedule. And a lot of people have a problem with that. I mean, so if you feel like sharing, you can, I'm looking, so you can post, or you can just say it. But does anybody have a real problem with that? right now. Well, they're just like, man, I got somebody or some things or whatever that's just blasting me all the time.
All my life.
What's that?
All my life. Oh man, you just hit my point right there. Something I've been still have to work on. But what you just said actually brought me so many memories. How
So
you know,
is it
saying no.
still is it still going on?
You know what? Is I would be lying if I just say, "Oh, it's done already." No, because that's. I mean, I'm 22 years old, but you know, it's been happening since I was a little kid. And yes, it still happens. But what I got right now, what keeps me more alert about it is I'm aware. I'm aware of it now, and I'm more aware of my own needs because that was my issue. I always put others first than myself, and because I was like this perfect kid as when I was in school because I listened to everyone. I did what my mom said, which I had to obviously, and most important cases. But in terms of when I knew I had to say no because my instincts told me, I said yes. And afterwards, the actions just proved to me that damn, you know, you were right all along. Or maybe it wasn't something about if I was right or wrong. It's just if I didn't want to do something, I still kept saying yes, and I've seen how that impacted my life. So yeah, I mean, it's still hard, but I'm way better now. Way better.
So what's interesting is when you say yes to everything or to most things, people will ask you for more things.
Hmm.
It's not like, they ask you once, you know, I don't think that it's a conscious thing where they're like, oh hey, he said yes, pile it on. But it becomes fluid for them to ask you something and then you do it. If you have to do it, I would always say, and I do this. Catherine knows this because I'll say, "Hey, I've already made my plan. It's not on my schedule. I've got a block. I can do something with that at 6 o'clock tonight." Or I will say something like, I just can't do it, or whatever. And you have to be. You just have to guard that, right? So there are some people you have to say yes to, but you got to be really, just kind of careful and cautious about how you do that. And the same thing goes for saying no. If you say no, people stop asking you. I mean, they just do. And so I used to be like you. I grew up and I was always, the yes boy, right? Like my mom or dad would do something, and I'd get praised for being a good boy, and then I'd be like, yeah, then I would do stuff, but I was always, and I love my mom and dad. They're both passed, but so they don't ask me to do stuff anymore. But I it was just really hard, right? And so that makes a big difference. Is if you can just slow down and get more people to accept that you're going to say no. It is really important. And Brandon, I think you had a question.
Sorry, can I jump in? I have a question just around this topic.
Okay.
This is Chetan actually. So what about in a work setup where you have like maybe like a very persisting task you're working on, prioritized task you're working on, but then you get asked for help from other folks on your team, and you can't really say no because your manager says, oh, you have to help them too. So how do you prioritize things in those situations?
Well, the first thing I would say is, are you sure you can't tell them no? Are there times that you could tell them no, but you tell them yes?
Yeah, other times I said yes, but like when we are working towards a product release, things kind of like go crazy, and everyone's task will become a priority for them. So they try to reach out to people who can help them, resolve their issues ASAP.
So I would look at it in a couple of different ways. One is I would challenge that everything everybody comes to you for, you need to react to. because you got to be really careful about reacting, because living a life of reaction is just going to cause you, it's going to cause you more problems, and it's going to drag out the things that you want to accomplish in life. So if you spend the whole time keep getting distracted by people, it's gonna just really slow down. And so if you're doing a product review, it's going to be hard for you to get what you need done if other people are coming to you. So that's one thing. The other thing is I would just tell people, you know, you don't have to like send out an email or a memo or anything like that, but I would just tell people, hey, when they come up and say, or they send you an email, or, if they send you an email, if you have a time that you set up to do, those unnecessary tasks, do them then, and do what you can in a 30-minute period. And if you can't get it done, it just goes into the next 30-minute bucket later. And if people come up to you in the office or whatever, or they give you a phone call, just say, hey, I'm really busy. I have some time at 10, whatever your 30-minute block is. But push everybody to that. Don't react to them. Make them react to your timing and your schedule.
Will that work in an environment where it's like a yes man kind of environment, a work culture, like everyone tries to kiss ass of my boss? So I got feedback last year when I said no, that in my annual feedback, that you were not helpful in crunch situations because you were just focused on your own tasks. And the rest of the team felt that you were not really helping them out in their tasks.
So say yes, but later.
Okay, cool.
You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to say no. You just go, yeah, I can help you. 10 o'clock. Yep, I can help you. 2 o'clock. Whatever those times are, do that. That's what I would do, because it's super easy. As you can imagine, I get that too, where people will ask me a question, and they'll, like, one person will just flip his chair around, look at me and go, hey, or this, or there's a Slack channel or whatever, and it's just really easy. And I just tell people, hey, can I do it then? So hopefully that helps. So
yeah,
thank you. Brandon, I think you're on mute. You want me to unmute you, or you can unmute? Oh, you got to unmute. You got to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah, so this goes back to you talking about planning your day and being more efficient. So I'm studying for a test right now, but would you ever say looking into details could be a bad thing? Because when I'm studying, I have to know the why to like almost everything. I don't know why. Like, it's just an obsession to know why it's this way. And I think that's holding me back in terms of getting what I want to get done in a day. Like, my goal probably get 2 to 3 modules done a day. And just looking into so much detail, I think it's like holding me back, like a module a day. And I feel less efficient, but at the same time, I feel like I'm understanding more, but I'm trying to speed up the process. And I don't know if the details can be holding me back, because when I talk to other people, they say, don't worry about that or whatever. But
So
it's I don't know.
yeah, so I'll try to answer that question. So if I don't get it, ask again. Okay, so don't just go, okay. So I'm a big believer in prioritizing productivity over busy work, if that makes sense. So if you think about it like this, and I don't know if this totally measures up. So one of the things that I'm required to do at my company is to sell. I have to go out and sell product, or sell services rather. So if I say I want to go out, I can't say I'm going to spend 2 hours selling, because if I say I'm going to spend 2 hours selling, what I'm doing is I'm prioritizing busy time, right? So what I'll do is, and it's vague, right? I mean, it's like 2 hours. Well, what does that mean? So what I'll do is I will say, I'm gonna prioritize productivity. So I want to find one new opportunity today, right?
Mhm.
So if I say I want to find one new opportunity today, I can find that in, if I find that in 10 minutes, great. If it takes me 4 or 5 hours, and that takes me 4 or 5 hours. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that helps. I mean, I think I might be missing your question.
No, that
Having
definitely
this
helps. So
suggestion.
like people, like the people I talk to, they just memorize what they need to do and go and take the test. And it's like, well, what did you really learn out of that? Like you learned how to do it, but would you rather know why you're doing it? That's the way I look at it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
uh,
something to add.
that
Okay.
helps.
When I was going, because I was taking classes, this is a couple of years ago, and I'm like you. I'm like, I want to find
Mhm.
out the why behind it, or I want to dig deeper into whatever the subject is or whatever the module is talking about. So, and I, like you, was feeling like I'm not getting through this, or it's taking me 3 times as long to get through a module because I'm going down all these different things. Um, so one thing that can help hopefully is what I would do is I would like make a list of things that I wanted to check out after. You know what I mean? So I was still checking those out. I was still digging deeper, but I would do that part after.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a kind of like Tab was talking about your junk drawer or your, what your miscellaneous time of the day. I would, write down what I needed to come back to discover more. And then I could do that like in my spare time outside of my time that I had set up for school.
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot then.
Yeah, and I think, this goes back to everybody, it's prioritizing, productivity, um, and what you want to produce, not busy work. Because if you prioritize busy work, because I used to do that, I used to set up my plan, and as an example, I would say, um, just even little things matter, because I would say things like, get an update from XYZ company today on whether or not they're going to move forward. Well, that kind of thing, it's like a busy work, but I can't control whether or not they actually get back to me, right? So I might have to just say, for the productivity point of that would just be reach out, you know, reach out and make contact with them, because that part I can control. So anything that you're looking at is much of it has to be, what can you control? So, when you're looking at it and thinking, I don't want to just do it to do it. I want to know the why. The why can become, your productivity. And you might be able to say, just like look at what the module is and say, when I'm done with this, I want to know this particular thing. This particular thing is important for me to know. And if you read it and you finish it, and you don't get it, or you don't have the knowledge you want, then if you're true to your planning, or your, focusing on your productivity, then you're going to go back and learn that. You're not just going to finish the module. So hope that helps.
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in a similar boat to Brandon. Like I'm preparing for this interview for my dream job, dream company, and it requires a lot of research and studying long hours other than my work. So what ends up happening for me is that I end up in research mode a lot, because I'm studying one book and I end up with, oh, I can get more details in this another book or this another YouTube video. So I'm spending a lot of time just researching rather than focusing on this one particular topic and getting it done, or doing like 10 problems on that particular topic. So what I realize is that I'm not gonna get everything in that moment or in that hour I've dedicated to. I have to get back to it again, like you mentioned that, yeah, get whatever you can right now, and also realize that the first time I get maybe like 10 or 20% out of what I read or what I saw or what I heard, I have to like go back to it again at a later date, maybe after a couple of days or maybe after a week, to cement that knowledge. So maybe you can try to do that, but that is just adding more hours for me right now.
Thank you.
Cool.
Can I just say something very, this is so funny. Just this conversation right now, just listening to you, Brandon, and Tab and everyone, it scares me how much this is reminding me of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, what the difference between those two guys are. Because you, Brandon, you just by your talk, just by listening to you right now, you remind me of Kobe. Because he was all about there you go. There you go. Like he was all about the details. You have Michael was more of like this compound movement. Like, okay, if this works, I'll stick to it. That's it. But that's the thing. Both of them were still focused on details. But you know, but in my opinion, if I'm gonna share like how I view of it, is that the details will come after you understand the fundamentals.
Mhm.
So your test, I don't know what you're reading right now, but once you understand what the task itself, once you know the like definition of that, then the details will appear for you.
So
But then
learn how to
again,
do it, then come back.
yeah, exactly. But then again, there's no right answer to this. You know, for some, it will be if you go straight into the details, you will then understand the whole topic. So there's no definite answer, but it just fascinates me how much you reminded me just of Kobe right now.
That's a compliment. I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to let you know.
So
Thank you.
to carry on, and I'm going to use Brandon as an not Brandon as an example, but use your
Yeah.
what you're doing as an example. What are you studying for?
The CPA.
Okay, so you're studying for the CPA. Congratulations, by the way. That's
Thank you.
that's pretty cool. So if you think about that, your focus should be, I want to get a CPA and why you want to get that. Why, I mean, to constantly remind yourself, this is, and I'm just going to make up crap, right? I want to be a CPA, because I want to go and I want to work for, uh, PwC and become an accountant there. Then I want to become, a partner somewhere. I want to open up my own firm, whatever that bigger thing is for you. And that's for all of us, is to be able to see that far down vision and gain clarity, and then come back to where we are today and then say, in order to accomplish that, I'm going to have to be ruthless with my time, right? Because otherwise you're like, hey, I want to accomplish all these amazing things. And then somebody comes along and says, hey, Brandon, the lawn needs mowed. And you're like, man, that's not in my plan. And, or whatever. And I use that because, think about what is it we need to delegate in our life in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And, for me, the lawn, Catherine was like, we need to mow the lawn, when it first needed to in the spring. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, I'm hiring somebody to do that, and then today we were talking about pressure washing our deck. And she's like, I feel really bad because that's something I can do and it would save us money. Well, there's a lot of things we can do that's going to save us something. But in order to save us something, we give up more. Does that make sense? So you got to think about what you're willing to sell in your future to do something now, because that's what happens is what you want to do in all of this is basically you kind of want to create time, or free up time. And they say there's no, everybody gets 24 hours, and that's true. But let's say it takes an hour to mow my lawn. I use up one of my 24 hours mowing the lawn. I can pay somebody to do that, and basically I just made my 24-hour day a 25-hour day. Okay. So you think about that. Think about things like, what is it you can delegate? And the old song, it's old, OPP. OPT, other people's time. Where can you find other people's time? You know, and I'm not saying abuse them and use them. I'm saying, where can you get people to help you out? Where can you get people to really dive in and support you? Because sometimes in order to minimize and in order to simplify your life and in order to create something, you either have to give things up that are not critical and not important in order to have those things. So, you know, if somebody comes up at work and asks you to do something, feel free to ask them to take something off your plate. It's like trading, you know, it's like a barter system. You want my help doing this? Yeah, I'll do it. I need you to do this, right? Barter your time, stuff like that. I mean, because what happens is, you know, you really have to focus on, you know, on what you're trying to accomplish, because you know, and I want to be careful. You know, I'm not saying like, you know, don't do anything for anybody, right? Because I don't want Catherine to be like, you said don't do stuff, and you asked me to go get you a glass of water, and I'll be like, well, damn, that just backfired on me. So I'll get her a glass of water. She gets me, you know what I mean? I mean, don't be stupid about it, but be smart about it when you're thinking about what it is you want to accomplish. So, again, you know, I talked a little bit about executing on your plan. And if you have a really good plan, and if you haven't watched it and you're interested in the, you know, the plan that I do, on my website, which isn't much of a website yet, tabpierce.com, is the recording of the video that we did last or 2 weeks ago, and that was about planning. And you can download, if somebody's interested, the plan that I have on there, the planner. The reason why I say that is because if you're going to accomplish what you need to do, if you set up a plan and you're saying like, hey, this is my day, this is what I'm going to control, and this is what I'm going to do, then anybody that comes in and drops something on your lap totally messed up your plan. Your plan just kind of implodes, right? And so if you get enough of those, you're going to finish your day and you're going to be like, man, I didn't accomplish anything. So don't be reactionary. That's why I have these 30-minute buckets of time where I can say, hey, I can help you, but it's going to be 10 o'clock, or I can help you, it's going to be 2 o'clock. So I'm not saying no, I'm just putting them in that bucket. Now, if they come and say, can you mow my lawn? I'm like, I don't have an hour bucket. And that's not how I use my 30-minute buckets. But anyway, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. So I've got a couple things to talk about after this, but and I want to see if there's any additional questions. But some of the questions that I would have you consider, you know, say over the next week or whatever, is, you know, what are the things that you can eliminate from your life? And it doesn't have to be what people are asking. It's just, you know, in order to execute, you have to simplify, and to simplify, you have to minimize. And so what is it you can eliminate from your life? So there's going to be some things, you know, that you're going to look at, you're going to say, well, by doing that, that actually adds more to me, right? So, and that doesn't take less. Like, you know, if I want to eat, you know, unprocessed, clean food, which is what I like to do, right? That takes more time. Simplifying my life would be, you know, I'd like a cheeseburger and large fries because I can just get that at a drive-thru. So I'm not willing to make out those kind of trade-offs, but you see what I mean? You've got to be able to say. So for me, you know, part of my plan might be, you know, make this certain type of food, just using that example. So think about what it is you can eliminate from your life. And then another question is I've got 4 questions. What tasks are you doing that you don't need to do? Like, what are those things that you just have, that you do, that you know, that if you really looked at it, you'd be like, why in the world did I do this? And we all have those. And one, you know, just as an example of why you get detailed and why it's critical to put things into, you know, to manage, you know, productivity and to be detailed. We run quarterly meetings at my company. It's both a quarter in review and a kickoff for the coming quarter. And when we first started doing this, you know, we would like, these are the goals that we're setting. You know, these are the things that each one of us is going to accomplish this quarter. There's, you know, 3 of us. And these are, you know, we'd have no more than 2 or 3 things. And we would look at that at first and we would say, what does that even mean? You know, we'd put something on that list and we'd say, well, what does that even mean? And so what we found is that, you know, we were creating tasks for us because we should have a task. So what I'm getting at is eliminate things that don't need to be there, okay? Because and figure out, you know, what that is. Another one is think about what it is you can delegate. You know, what is it that, you know, a lot of times there's things where you're looking at, you'll say, it's easier for me to do it than to ask somebody else to do it. Nobody can do it better than me. They're just going to screw it up. Whatever excuse you use to not delegate, you need to get over. And, you know, I had that problem, you know, early on, and, you know, like 10 years ago, I did this job board on our corporate website, probably 8 or 9 years ago. And I would update it, you know, every like twice a month, and it just became overbearing as I got busier, and as more people were asking us to post stuff, it just became too much. And I held on to it for life because I'm like, nobody can do this as well as I can do it. It took me a while, but nobody can do it as well as I can do it. I finally had to give it up. I was forced to give it up because I didn't have the time. It wasn't getting done. So I hired somebody to do it. And they came back to me and like, hey, I made a few changes. Is this okay? And I just went, holy crap, that's like 10 times better than anything I had ever done. So don't be so sure that you can do things better than anybody else. Some people can do things better than you. So be okay with dropping those things off and delegating. Remember, the more you can delegate, the more you're, you know, in essence, buying time. And again, and then probably the last thing is, what is it you can simplify? What is it that you can take in your life and just make it easier? So that's it. What question? Anybody have any questions? I have a couple small things, but just questions if anybody has them. I know people have been asking as they've been going, but it's cool. If you don't, that's fine. All right, cool.
How many buckets do you have? These 30-minute buckets do you have in a day?
That's a good question. I usually do about 4. So I'll do one, you know, usually at about, you know, like probably 7 a.m., you know, and that one usually doesn't take me 30 minutes. That's usually just to kind of clear anything out. Then I might do one at 10, and then one at probably 2 or something like that, and then one at like maybe 8 o'clock at night, something like that. And a lot of times I don't need the whole 30 minutes. I mean, often I don't need the whole 30 minutes. But there are times that things get pushed off. But yeah, I mean, that way I can at least kind of control what I'm doing and not be reactionary, because the reactionary is going to kill you. It's going to kill your productivity. It's just going to knock you out.
The plan you make for the day, like, do you make that a day earlier, or how do you plan for a week or for a day, next day?
So what I do is I plan everything the night before. So I go over and I have what I call an opportunity pipeline, and basically it is everything I want to accomplish from it's a sheet, and it has kind of what kind of like, honestly, the very top part is more like, these would like be really, these are like the visionary things, the things that might be 3, 4, 5 years down that are kind of good to shoot for and good to, good to drive towards, but they're not, they're not manageable. And I don't look at those things every single day. But then the other one is, or the others are, a focus at looking at the year. What are my yearly goals or yearly opportunities? What are the monthly things I'm doing to reach the year? What are the weekly things I'm doing to reach the month, and the day to reach the week, and the hour to reach the day? So I do that. And the reason why I break it down like that, and one side note, interesting how the year, as it starts to unfold, starts to align with those visionary things. So that's kind of cool. But the reason why I do it the night before is because I'm a big believer that your subconscious can solve a lot of problems, and that um, uh, it can create ideas, that it can be creative. And so I want to have that done. So at night, I'm thinking about what it is that I want to accomplish and what I want to do. So I do that, and then throughout the day, I do have. I mean, nobody's plan is so perfect that it doesn't explode. I mean, very rarely do I go through an entire day and I'm like, man, that went absolutely as designed. I have to, things take longer than I anticipate they're going to take. Things are shorter than I anticipate them to take. But I'm more than willing to make changes to the hourly, as long as I'm hitting the daily goals. And that's, Tim Grover had mentioned uh, mentioned in one of his sessions. I can't remember. I think it was, well, it was probably the second one he did, that about 40% of people complete about 40% of their to-do list. And that just shocked me. I was like, you can't be freaking kidding me, man. I mean, I hit about 90% of the things I'm going to do every day. So that's why I do that. So I got a little long-winded, but that's something I'm pretty passionate about.
No, thank you for that breakdown, because I think that is the problem I'm facing. I'm not even hitting 20% of the goals I have for the day right now, because of all these distractions and, just like I mentioned, the research mode I get into. But thanks for explaining that.
Yeah. And I strongly advise you to go to my website, tabpierce.com. I'm not saying it to promote myself. I'm saying it because, maybe you didn't write it down. And look at that video and download it's just a Word doc. So, I freely give it to people. So do that and take a look at that. I think that'll be helpful. So got 4 minutes. Every time I get off of one of these, somebody comes back to me and says, when are you going to do the next one? And each time I've done this, I'm like, Moran, I think you were one of them that had said that, right? Like, when are you going to do the next one? Several people did. Some, and I was like, oh, I don't think I was planning on doing another one. So each time I come back, I keep doing it. So if people want me to do this and do more, I think it's really important that topics are created by a group of people, not just by me. I've got a lot of topics I think are important, and I can do that. But I think the two final things is, if you want to be, if you want to be part of, me, these in the future, or just be aware of them, send me a message and just say, hey, keep me in the loop. And if you have topics that you want to hear, take a, spit those out there. Let me know, because I'd love to help. So, 'cause I've got, what's
I
that?
reached out. I reached out to you because obviously you have things that you are very good at, and unfortunately I couldn't attend the last one. That's why I reached out to you now in the first place when it was the next one. Because, but about the topics thing, like of course we can message you in terms of what we would like to discuss, but again, you have things that you're really good at.
Mhm.
So for you to just put out yourself out there, okay, I'm going to talk about this, you know, those people will come to you, those who are supposed to be in your cause.
Yeah,
Right? So you just, but again, I'll happily message you if there's something I would like to hear more from yours. But
yeah, and I mean, topic, people can message me if they have questions. I mean, I love to help. That's one of the biggest things that came out of this, 4+ years or 3.5 years. I don't need to make it longer. Crap fest that I did with my company and turning it around was that I really, really like helping people. And I don't think I knew that. I mean, I knew I liked helping people, but I didn't realize how much I liked it. So, reach out. If you have questions, if you think I can help, just reach out. Man, I'm more than willing to do that. So,
I mean, like, this topic is amazing. I think I'm fascinated with it. Like productivity, planning. I think I suck at planning and soft skills. So if we can have a group where we can meet maybe monthly or whatever,
yeah.
and you can help us break it down. Maybe a topic for your next book.
Yeah. Well, I've got the next book planned, so I just gotta. And John, don't listen. John is my taskmaster of making me write or staying on schedule. So I appreciate that. But I am going to have the outline to him today. So today, John. Anyway,
Yep, you said that 2 weeks ago.
dude, I had it.
But anyways, all right.
Anyway, but if I can help, just reach out, please. And everybody have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
awesome call.
Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for your time,
Thank you.
Tab.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye,
Thanks, man.
Catherine.